1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh, served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Hello, fellow followers of the Church of Mana, and welcome to episode 75 of Cure of the What Now.
Cure of the what now?
That's 75 episodes in total,
Yes.
not 75 episodes of season 2. But man, what a milestone. That's super exciting.
We might be thinking about doing something special for the 100th episode, but we don't have anything planned yet. We still have about 25 weeks or so before we have to come up with something, and hopefully we won't wait till the last minute. and miss the boat.
Absolutely. Speaking of something special, we will be opening up voting soon-ish, like in the next 10 episodes or so we can start voting for the end of season Cotwin Awards. So
Of
keep
course.
your eyes and your ears open for that. My name is Kat, and don't you dare call me cute. I am powerful and serious.
And I am Joel, and this isn't going to be related to PreCure exactly, but I used the forbidden technique that my sensei taught me. It was a life-stealing ninjutsu technique, and I almost died. But I'm here. I've recovered. And I'm
Is that
ready
why
to
the
fight.
episode is so late?
That's part of why the episode is so late, yes.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
life-stealing jutsu. So once again, folks, sorry. We do this for fun. The episodes come out when they come out.
We have a plan to record next week's episode before the week proper starts because, you know, it's the Monday through Friday weekday grind that really gets in the way of us recording. So maybe next episode will be out a little earlier. Who knows?
Absolutely. We're going to do our best for you. Joel, are there any other pre-show items of import? Do we have a date on the movie yet?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen anything about when it's coming out.
I feel like I'm going to ask you that every episode because I just really want the movie to come out.
Absolutely.
It took so long for us to get the Healing Good movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, we were pretty far into Tropical Rouge by the time the Healing Good movie came out, and that was a bummer.
No, we really don't have anything else to talk about, so let's get into the discussion question.
Absolutely. Now, Joel, your favorite story of all time is One Piece.
Naturally.
So I'm going to do the discussion question slightly differently this week. Pitch me a world in which One Piece is a PreCure style magical girl show instead of what it is.
So the first thing that comes to mind is that you get the devil fruits, and when you eat them, you get magical girl powers, and each devil fruit gives you a different magical girl power. So you, for instance, have Zoro, who's still a swords woman. I don't know if all the characters would be girls, like in PreCure, where most characters are girls, but you still have Zoro, who didn't eat a devil fruit and isn't a magical boy or girl. He's just a swordsman. And Sanji's still just a chef who fights only using his kicks because One Piece is weird. But Luffy is a magical girl, and maybe something about his magical girlness is what brings other people together. You could have the bad guys, let's just call them the Desertarians. I know that's a real thing, but I'm just going to say that. And maybe they are collecting shards of power that have been scattered on all the different islands. And so as Luffy goes through, Luffy isn't trying to collect the shards. He's just trying to go on his own adventure. But he keeps running into these villains who are doing evil things, and he keeps getting distracted by his magical girl duties, and he keeps saving these shards. And they, like get slurped into him. Like, after he beats up the bad guy, it just, it turns into, light and goes inside of his heart. And Luffy's like, what was that? That was weird. But at the end of the series, it'll turn out that he'll have gathered most of them, and that's why he'll become the Pirate King.
Okay.
The magical girl to rule them all.
The Pirate King is the freest PreCure on the seas.
And obviously Chopper would be a fairy-type mascot, and we would tweak his story a little bit to be, he's still I don't want to be a monster, but it would also be I don't want to be the weakling. And so his journey is going from fairy to actual character that can fight.
Oh, okay. So he's like the mid-season fairy cure.
Kind of, yeah, exactly.
Okay, Cure Pecker and Cure Chopper, same.
Both slightly horrifying if you think about it for too long.
Chopper is never going to make us look at his feet, is all I'm saying.
That's true. That's absolutely true. What other aspects do you think, like, how does hockey, for example, from One Piece factor in? Also, because this is primarily a PreCure podcast, hockey is a magical power tied to your strength of will. So, like, the sort of people who are, like, the best in their field tend to have really strong hockey, which is a psychic ability that can make your attack stronger. It can help you, like, see the future, sort of, like how your opponent's going to try to attack you. And then there's, like, a third one that can make people pass out.
Yeah, so I think we have an overarching theme of chasing your dream.
Sure.
Right? And so I think in this magical girl version of One Piece, the stronger your dream and the more encouraging you are of other people for chasing theirs, the more of this dream energy or dreamergy, as Doki Doki would put it, you have. And so if you have enough, then it gives you your mid-season power-up attack. So basically, Luffy would get her...
Or his or whatever, who knows what's going on.
Exactly, get her attacks through increases in hockey.
Okay, I like that. And maybe, like, the 3 different types that exist in the original One Piece world, maybe that's just, like, preferences. Like, that's how they choose to allocate their stats in a certain sense in the PreCure world.
Absolutely, I love it.
All right. So, because of the lateness of this episode, I don't think that we have any reason to really kind of drag the discussion question out. I think we can move on to the succinct summaries.
Yeah, let's get going. How many episodes of Max Heart did you watch?
Okay, so you remember that life draining technique I mentioned? That gave me the ability to watch 11 episodes of Max Heart.
Are you kidding me? When did you find time for that?
Well, you see, this episode is a week late, so that's part of how I found time for that.
11 episodes, holy shiz.
I did ask Gigi, our dog, to watch some of them and report back to me, so if it seems like maybe they're a little jumbled, you know.
All right, so lightning bolt succinct summary. Did anything happen in Max Heart?
Not particularly. However, here's what I did. Because I have 11 episodes to succinctly discuss, geez Louise, my brain, I got each of them down to 2 words.
Okay.
Episode 30, Amusement Park. Episode 31, Lacrosse Antics. Episode 32, Odongo Smiles. Food brings happiness, after all. Episode 33, Nagisa's birthday. Episode 34, school trip. Episode 35, more trip.
A 2-part episode.
36, fairy hijinks. 37, historical play. 38, Honeka's moving?
39, no she's not.
No, 38, no she's not. 39, lacrosse championship. And 40, badminton hijinks. So when we get to our Max Heart discussion, you can ask me... You can just, like, pick one of those random buzzwords, and I can try to tell you more about that episode if I remember anything about it. But overall, we've met a couple of heartiels, and the kid... the
Antichrist.
The Antichrist met the Jesus figure that is Hikari, and they both blacked out again, and the girl one tried to kill Hikari, but then Nosferatu showed up and was like, no, mystery, 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 and then he flew off. That's been your succinct summary for Max Heart. Next week, we will not be covering any episodes. I need time to regain my life force. But we will be watching the second Max Heart movie, which I have been told is legendary in one aspect or another. My fingers are crossed that Hikari turns into a dragon.
Man, I'm just on a One Piece kick. You mentioned life draining, and I was like, oh, Magellan was so cool. I should rewatch Impel Down.
Crocodile kind of did that too a little bit with his moisture sucking.
Yeah. Okay. You can hummy sound effect this out, but
as a treat.
Doki Doki.
Doki Doki. We watched episodes 11 and 12, and Glitter Force we watched 3 episodes, so 7, 8, and 9, I believe. Episode 11, Bell wants to settle the score with Mana, and then he turns into a cell phone. Also, they shoot him with bows and arrows and get a new merchandise opportunity called the Love Heart Arrow. Also, there's a bit about Mana being the type of person who cares. Like, she always promises to help, even when maybe it's not a good idea. But that's not really the A-plot. The A-plot is the cell phone thing that I mentioned. Episode 12, Mana gets an apprentice, and then Ira turns into an elephant.
Cool.
Yes.
And delicious.
And Delicious Party PreCure. It turns out that Kokone has never had a relationship with her parents, and both she and her parents realize one day, like, they want a relationship with each other, but they don't know how because they're awkward. And then Kokone's like, let's buy some donuts. The bad guys show up, and then she has some donuts with her parents, and now they're closer as a family. And those have been your Succinct Summaries!
Excellent.
Also, we will be watching 2 more episodes of Doki Doki in the next week's episode of Delicious Party.
Yes. I want to start with Delicious Party this week because I think that, that's what this season is about. So let's get Delicious Party out of the way. Did you like this episode?
No, not particularly.
See, here's the thing. I understand, hearing something somebody says and taking it to heart forever. Maybe a little bit more than you should have. What I don't understand is parents just not noticing that their child has stopped having any sort of interaction with them. And I know they said in the episode that they left to travel shortly after the Dark Donut incident. But, I just don't believe it. It's almost like because I come from the family that I come from, which is very loving and very emotionally demonstrative, it's hard for me to see this and be like, people would act that way.
Yeah, and again, I think you and I are coming from perspectives where, America has work as the through line of how adults are supposed to behave in the workplace. But Japan seems to have work as the underlying, emotional pinning of the relationship with work. So you and I didn't necessarily have the same relationship with our parents that has been depicted in quite a few seasons of PreCure at this point. Onika's family is always abroad. She only sees them once a year. They did it in Delicious Party. They did it in Star Twinkle. They did it in the other one,
Sweet.
Kira PreCure a la mode. So it seems to be a common theme about people being kind of separated from their parents. And it also seems to be an easy shorthand for the relationship is somewhat strained because, you get to the middle school, high school years, you start to become an adult, you start to develop your own independence, you start having your own friend group, you start getting into music or video games or hobbies that maybe your parents don't necessarily approve of. So I think they're trying to go for how do you keep your relationships intact when you feel like maybe you're growing apart? But the shorthand they used was really weird. Kokone's like, can I have some donut holes? Her aunt is like, you don't want to be selfish. And for the rest of her life, Kokone is like, I can never ask for anything ever again. After this one conversation.
So I want to touch on that. We have commented in the past about certain characters reading to us as neurodivergent. So, for example, Hikari from Kira PreCure a la mode very much reads as a neurodivergent person whose special interest is baking.
Yes.
And the science of baking. I don't think that neurotypical people do what Kokone has just done, and what I do constantly, where, somebody makes such a small, offhanded comment, but you never don't hear it.
I once, early in our relationship, said something along the lines of, maybe, I can't remember exactly what it was, but something like, you made enchiladas with beef in them or something, and I said, I prefer chicken enchiladas or something, and then, 6 months later, you're like, I was gonna make hamburgers, but I remember that you don't like beef, and I was over here thinking, no, what I said was that I preferred this other one in enchilada form, and so that's kind of the thing you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of. Or my dad, when I was 14 and learning to drive, told me when we were at the gas station, always get a receipt. I am 30 years old, and I still hear my dad's voice in my head saying, always get a receipt when I go to gas stations. I don't even think that it's a thing anymore because, we use cards most of the time, but still, every time. Or, I changed my whole wardrobe in college because I had a friend who commented on a character and was like, I don't like the way she dresses. And I was like, I dress that way. So it's an extremely neurodivergent experience, and I feel for Kokone, even though I don't understand the adults in that situation.
I see what you're saying.
Nobody noticed, and her parents didn't think she was being selfish about the donut holes. Her parents easily in that moment could have been like, no, it's fine, let's get some donut holes, but they just didn't.
Yeah, I think it comes from a combination of like the episodes being too short, the episodes are supposed to be kind of standalone, and they're trying to fit in a bunch of stuff. And then, as we've commented before, sometimes the monster fight feels a little like forced in. I don't think that's true in this episode. However, due to all of these various circumstances, and because it's for a younger audience, I think they use shorthand, and it's hard to get that emotion across. If you wrote a short story about someone whose favorite thing was looking up information about the shoelaces worn by figure skaters in the 1968 Olympics, like, that's really specific, and if you only had 2 sentences to explain why your character loved it, I'd probably be like, that's a weird thing to get hung up on. But if you had, like, an entire novel about this character and you spent time inside their head, you might eventually come to realize, like, oh, this is why they have such a specific interest in the shoelaces worn by this type of athlete during this specific year. And so I think that, I don't know, maybe this conflict could work if it had a little bit more time, but it didn't, so it came across a little weird to me.
Absolutely.
Also, I think we've seen Kokone's mom maybe in passing before, but in this episode we get a lot of shots of her face while she's talking and smiling and thinking, and I immediately thought that she looks a bit like a grown-up Erica from Heartcatch, but there was an element there that was slightly not Erica, and as I thought about it, I realized, oh, it's Erica from Heartcatch plus Minami Kaido from Go Princess, like, smushed together.
Well, and it's funny because we watched this episode a week ago, and so what happened was at the same time that I was saying, is that grown-up Minami Kaido, you were saying, is that Erica?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we both thought of different blues, but like simultaneously. But she really does look like she could be the adult version of some other Cure.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's because she's got the colored hair or what, but like, not every PreCure mom gives that vibe. Yui's mom doesn't look like a PreCure to me.
No, and I don't think, from what I remember of how she looked, I don't remember Manatsu's mom looking like she would be a PreCure or anything like that. I think it's the hair and the brightly colored eyes. Also, side note, the dad actually has like the bluer eyes of the two parents, and I don't know. I associate that kind of blue color with maybe like more feminine eyes for some reason, and so I kind of was like, oh, it's neat that they gave the dad those eye colors, but not really worth talking about beyond any of that.
We wrote on our scratch pad, Black Pepper is cute. And he is, but I can't remember what he did that made us write that down.
He showed up to save them, and oh gosh, I didn't watch it with subtitles, but I replayed the episode yesterday to get the screenshots with the sticker sheet, and I don't remember, but I think it was something about like him blushing when he was saving Yui or something while they were fighting the Ubazao. We should maybe we should take more detailed notes or try to record these episodes closer to when we watch the media we're consuming.
Seems like it would be professional.
There was also a part where Finale punched the Ubazao, and either right before or right after, she gave out this little like yosh, and it was just like, it was so weird because it was almost like they wrote like in the margins of the script like, we need to have Amane/Finale say something here, but they realized when they record they only had like 2 seconds, so they had to like really quickly put in like a single like yosh soundbite.
Oh man, yeah, that was pretty good. Do you ever thank God that nobody pays us to make this podcast?
How come?
Because you were saying, you know, we should probably take more detailed notes or record closer. Yeah, if somebody was paying us, I couldn't turn this into them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But since it's a for fun thing, like, it is okay that we scrumbled it up.
You know, absolutely. Here's my solemn promise to you. If we ever make money for doing this podcast, you can expect no change in quality. But you might get sarcastic ad reads, potentially.
And you might get the podcast on time.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like if somebody said, I will give you $10 every Monday after the podcast comes out, I would go, okay, Monday mornings, the podcast has to go live.
What if we just did it episodically? And I know we're technically already doing this episodically, but what if we did episode 25, episode 1, and we only discuss Delicious Party, and then we go, we'll be working on the rest, please kickstart this project and give us money in order for us to cover Doki Doki.
Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic. Maybe after we finish Doki Doki, since we already gave them a taste for free, we should probably finish
I see. Okay, absolutely.
Are you ready to move on to discussing Doki Doki? / Glitter Force?
I think so.
Okay, I need to be clear on something. I didn't realize this when I proposed the Doki Doki Glitter Force balance. Glitter Force is hilarious.
It really is.
Like, the sass in this show is at unbelievably high levels.
Yes.
And the original is pretty sassy too, but not in the same way. So, for example, one of our favorite quotes was in Glitter Force episode 9 when Maya is fighting Belle. Or right before she fights him, he's trying to verbally taunt her into transforming and fighting, and she says, "I can't fight you. You're way older than I am, and you wear glasses."
I mean, that is pretty chivalrous of her in a certain sense of the word, I suppose. But no, they put in a lot more quips, and we commented on this, I think, for an earlier episode, and I do wonder if it's because it's for a different audience. Like, maybe American children are expected to want more quips in their media or something like that. Or maybe the original Japanese Doki Doki was just as quippy, but maybe some of the subtlety is lost on us who are not Japanese. But it really is enjoyable. I understand that many episodes were cut, and some of, like, the character building moments, and they changed something about the Rikka being jealous of Mana episode, which I want to talk about in a second. I do think that on the whole, Glitter Force is probably the inferior product because they cut content that is important for, like, kind of the end goal. But I do think that it's kind of a funny, like, watch this if you're maybe not the target demographic, maybe if you're a couple of years older, and you can kind of laugh at, like, how silly it is, how over the top.
Absolutely, yes. And, like, I'm having more fun watching this than I was having watching Max Heart.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've told this story before, but originally our introduction to PreCure was we watched Glitter Force, not the Doki Doki, but the first season, if you want to call it that, as kind of like we're too old and cool for this media, but we can watch it and we can kind of, like, laugh. But there were still some, like, funny moments. Like, we kind of got into, like, oh, it's this week's buffoon! And so, like, even though that's not what got us into PreCure, it didn't turn us off of PreCure, I would say, either.
Absolutely. Oh, man, and that season had a hot clown.
It started the hot clown conspiracy. It all got kicked off there.
The hot clown who started it all.
So, I kind of cheekily referred to this when I was doing the Succinct Summaries. Both Belle in episode 11 and Ira in episode 12 revealed that they have the ability to go what the fan subs called beast mode. There's a specific Japanese word, but if I try to pronounce it, Magical Girl AU will hear and then correct me and I'll feel embarrassed. So I'm just going to call it beast mode. But basically, in all of the first 10 episodes, the bad guys would take the dark heart that comes out of someone who had selfish thoughts and they would turn it into a monster. But in these episodes, instead what they do is they kind of shrink it into like a bite-sized form and then they eat it. They toss it in their mouth and they swallow it and then they turn into their own beast mode monster. I had this spoiled for me, or I read a sentence about it on the wiki at one point, and I was trying not to bring it up, and I thought for sure that it would be something like they each had a specific transformation, like Belle would turn into, I don't know, an octopus or something, and then Ira would turn into a gorilla or something, and I thought they'd each have, like, their own animal, like,
consistently.
What am I trying to... What's the thing from Harry Potter?
They'd have a Patronus.
Yeah, they'd have, like, a specific... Yeah, Patronus, basically. But what it now feels like is that they're basically creating disdain, but they are the disdain, and they take on the form of whoever's heart they ate. But in Glitter Force, as he's tossing in his mouth, one of the girls, I think it might have been Mana, but it might have been one of the other ones, said, he really ate it. It must taste awful, because it's this evil heart thing. And then when Belle turns into the cell phone, the flip phone, they kind of make fun of him in both versions, Doki Doki and Glitter Force. But in the Glitter Force version, Belle says, I'll have you know this is advanced technology where I'm from before they start the fight.
My man, you live in a bowling alley. You were stuck in the 90s permanently.
Or do you remember what he said when he pulled out the stylus? So, background information for anyone who didn't see this episode. Belle kidnaps Ai and says, come alone, Mana, we'll fight, and if you don't come alone, I'll kill this baby, and if you don't come, I'll kill this baby. So his little, like, stylus can turn into a javelin.
So he pulls out the stylus, and one of the girls yells, ah, pointy thing!
is a life or death situation. He's aiming the javelin at the baby. He's going to kill the baby fairy, and they say, pointy thing.
Just the voice acting, like, they didn't sound afraid. They sounded excited. Like, if I saw something shiny, I might go, shiny thing!
Absolutely.
So no, Glitter Force is hilarious. I actually really recommend at least the Doki Doki season. Like, give it a try. We mentioned that in episode 11, they got some new attacks. Do you want to share those?
Yeah, it'll be really quick. So in episode 11, Joe tries to give Mana a new love charm, which is what we're going to call it because we think that sounds better than lovies or lovieds. The baby takes it for some reason, and he's just kind of like, okay, take it or whatever, I guess. And then as she's about to be speared by the javelin, Mana yells like, no! And that activates the... I'm unclear on why they got a new attack at this point. But what's important is that they got a new buyer merchandise. It's the Love Heart arrow. And they each get a new powered up attack where they put their own version of the new love charm in their merchandise. And so My Sweetheart got upgraded to Heart Shoot from Mana. Twinkle Diamond became Diamond Shower. Rosetta Wall became Rosetta Reflection. And Holy Sword, curiously enough, got downgraded to Sparkle Sword.
Yeah, Holy Sword was so badass.
Holy Sword should be her ultimate final attack she gets in the last episode when she gets like a pure white dress or whatever the heck they're going to get as their super forms.
Absolutely. Also, I guess a reflection is better than a wall because it bounces it back. But like, yeah,
your reflection sounds like a wall rather than, yeah.
So, their new item, I guess you would call it the wand for this season, maybe, but it's like a crossbow. And Mana is the only one who uses it as a bow. And it actually turns into like a full bow and arrow for her. But I was just mad. I was like, none of these girls know what a bow is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know I'm overanalyzing this show for children, but as I kind of alluded to, it felt like the love charm came out of kind of nowhere. And then it feels like they didn't really put a lot of effort into, like, okay, so if their love for I is what causes the love charm to turn into the actual weapon that they can use to defeat Belle, this episode should have been about their love for I, not Mana and, like, teamwork and stuff, because, like, Makoto gets, like, some weird character development in this episode that kind of gets dropped, but not really.
It was kind of like they wrote 2 episodes, and then we're told, hey, you're gonna get 1 fewer episodes this season than you thought.
Due to budget concerns, can you find any 2 that you can just smush together?
Right, and so half the episode was about the baseball team wanting Mana's help, and then Mana not being able to show up because she's dealing with the eye stuff, and the other half was about the eye being kidnapped stuff.
Yeah.
But the baseball side of things, Makoto sees Mana playing with them, and she's like, what are you doing? And Mana's like, I'm helping. And she goes, does helping people matter? And Mana's like, yes, you sociopath.
That's why we live in a society. Whether you like them or not, that is supposed to be the purpose of taxes, for example. Makoto, for person who shuns society, lives in the forest. Her best friend is a wolf who will one day eat her face when she forgets to feed it.
Yes. But anyway, like, there's a moment where the girls drop their softball and she picks it up and tosses it to them. And Dobby, I think, is like, didn't it feel good to help them just then? Didn't it feel good when you were singing for people? And I just want to say, Makoto singing for people is not her helping people, because it is something that she enjoys doing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But the episode was a little muddled. But I do like their new attacks. I do like this idea that the selfishes, or whatever they're called, the mercenaries in the Glitter Force, I like the idea that they've had this, like, trump card, and they haven't been taking the threat seriously, because it's just like, it's for teen girls or whatever. But now they're like, okay, we gotta take this pretty serious.
Another shout out to Glitter Force version of Belle. He calls her Glitter Girl. And like, he's so dismissive.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Be mean to me, Belle.
Also, I commented this to you off camera, and I hope they don't do this in the current way that Doki Doki is structured, but sometimes you hear a story and you think of, like, putting your own spin on it, or you ask yourself what if, and then that becomes its own thing. I would not be entirely opposed if they handled it well to a season where one of the evil generals was much closer to the PreCure in age. So if Bell was closer to like Ira's age, if every time they got hit by like the love charm heart-shaped blast or whatever, if without realizing it, they were like slowly becoming like smitten with their opponent. And so like, if Bell, again, the age gap is problematic, but if Bell was closer to Mana's age, if he'd be like, oh, I want to crush her, I just want to take her cute little face, what am I saying? Like, I think that would actually be a really funny way to play one of the bad guys.
I could see them playing it with, like, Ira, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
End of the baseball episode.
Oh, yes.
We got a glimpse of a new bad guy. We assume she's a bad guy. She's dressed all in black, and she's going, oh, ho, 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 ho.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, looking forward to adding another Himidari bitch to the collection.
Absolutely. At this point, the girls have now gotten an upgraded attack. They've beaten even Bell, who we thought was the scary general, like twice. So it's time for the bad guys to bring out something scary. So we'll have to see how she has to do. She says like she looks forward to like playing with Mana or something like that. So she knows Mana's name. So that actually... part of me makes me wonder if she is related to the bad guys or the cure stuff. She might just be like a civilian. But on the other hand, what's the chance of a mysterious figure showing up about a quarter of the way into the season, right? About when you would start to see the mid-season cure.
Do you remember how early on in Pokemon, Team Rocket tried to steal Pikachu and he beat them, and they were like, this must be the most powerful Pokemon in existence.
Okay, yes.
We're only going to focus on this Pokemon. I think what happened is Bell and the other generals have been fighting the PreCure, and they went, these teen girls are too powerful. What can we possibly do to stop them? Another teen girl.
We'll bring our own teen girl to the
We
team.
got our own teen girl for the teen girl party.
And honestly, if you think about it, wasn't that Narsatoru's strategy all along from the beginning of Delicious Party? I needed to really quickly point out two things. One, the Glitter Force version of the episode when Rikka is jealous of Mana and Makoto being close, they changed the you would make a good wife to you would be a good mom. Not only is this, I mean, I don't even know if technically you could call it homophobic, but I think there's an argument to be made. But even if you didn't want representation or you didn't prefer the term wife for some reason, if you thought mom was, I don't know, less creepy? I don't know how it would be. But the jealousy doesn't make sense because, like, what? She's jealous that, like, this best friend of hers is starting to become independent, which doesn't seem like a bad thing. But whereas if it's like, it's this special close-knit relationship and, oh no, there's, pardon the language, but another bitch coming in who's, like, taking her away, is like Makoto prettier than I am? Like, it makes more sense to me.
I could see a version of the mom thing working if they had written this slightly differently. So I had a brain blast moment watching this episode of Glitter Force. There is a scene where Rikka sees Mana putting a blanket over Makoto's shoulders after Makoto has fallen asleep, and you kind of see like her face fall. And so you could have played it not as jealousy, but as Mana has needed me this whole time, but now she's doing the mom thing for somebody else.
I'm no longer needed. Okay.
Is she outgrowing me? And, like, I think that would have made a lot more sense. But, again, like, they are constrained by what is happening in the episode and by the mouth movements that the characters do.
And that's kind of... I think you could do an episode of some cartoon show or anime or whatever for children, and you could have a relationship where one of them is like the pseudo-mom to the other one. I mean, look at Lilo and Stitch. They're technically sisters, but it's really more of a mom role. But because the Glitter Force is just trying to adapt something, clearly the episode was written with the intent of it being a wife relationship, and then they tried to change it into a mother-daughter relationship, and those are two different things. You need different shot compositions for that kind of a thing. Anyways, other thing I want to bring up, I still don't understand Joe's character. Because obviously Joe shows up and he has the the love charms that turn the girls into PreCure. And he clearly is trying to pretend like he doesn't know that they transform, even though he clearly does. Like, I don't understand why none of the girls can figure this out. But in episode 11, the fact that he just randomly had a charm to give, and then he doesn't mind when Ai takes it, and then he does actually a really cool thing. He throws himself in front of a lightning attack in order to save Mana, and he's, like, in the hospital, and then when he finds out that she's, like, being blackmailed to show up at the park at 11 o'clock, he has to struggle to get there because, no, Mana, he could kill you, it's a trap. So is he competent, or is he not competent?
What if Joe is the queen of the Trump Kingdom in disguise?
But I still, like... Okay, so let's focus on just the one scene that kind of seems weird to me. Why would he be okay with a charm not being given to the person he wants to receive it? Why would he be okay with, like, the baby stealing it?
Because I is the embodiment of his love for the Trump Kingdom.
Okay.
And so he/she, because this is secretly the queen, she knows she can put her trust in I, in that feeling of love to know what's best.
Okay, that's fair. I don't really have a theory or a thought. I don't know how this is going to resolve. I have no idea what Joe's true identity is. Obviously, he has a true identity. Maybe she has a true identity. But I'm just waiting for it to, like, develop. Because right now he's only been in the background, and I'm not overly impressed. It was cool that he saved Mana, though. I do appreciate that.
You had one other thought.
Oh, yes, I did. So... Makoto learns that teamwork is cool. And like I said, that kind of feels like a B plot that sort of gets hastily resolved. But when Mana can't make it to the baseball team, with the softball game, they're missing a pitcher, and there's like a first year who like didn't believe in herself, but Mana told her to believe in herself, so now she does believe in herself. But I'm just wondering, if you gave Makoto that, like, is friendship and teamwork really that important? And they already showed her throwing a ball earlier and she was doing pretty well at it. Do you think it would be better if Makoto had volunteered to be the pitcher for the game? Would that be better for her character? Or is it better to give more time to, like, the secondary characters?
So, when you're writing a long-running series, you have to balance the arc over the series with the arc for each individual episode. And so I got the impression they were trying to add to Makoto's arc for the entire series. Like, she's learning about friendship and teamwork and whatever. But in order to better tie it into the episode, I would have had her witness the speech Mana gave the first years, and, like, at that moment, she would have reminded them, Mana's not the only person on this team who matters.
Absolutely.
Because then she would have, the lesson she learned would have played an active role in the episode, not just her character growth season-wide.
That is a really good analysis, and that's why they pay you the big imaginary bucks.
That's why they pay me the big kisses off Mike.
Absolutely. Also, the softball team had two characters who didn't get a name on the wiki, but I did find a note that said what their names were. One of them, the red-haired one, who I believe is the captain of the team, she almost exactly looks like what my OC, Kier Flare, looks like in her civilian form, how I pictured her or whatever. So I will definitely be using her as a reference if I ever get around to actually drawing that character.
How did she get in the episode? Nobody knows. One of our favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson, he has a character who shows up in the background of all of his books, and he was telling us at a signing about how he came up with this character, and he goes, yeah, well, when I was a child and I was reading, anytime there was like a nameless background character, I'd be like, oh, it's him. And it was the same guy, I imagined, in every book, and he was just jumping through all of my books. And then when I started writing, he jumped into my book that I wrote. And I like that. That's what's happening with Kier Flare.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. She's been in every season, and okay, I really appreciate that.
Finishing up with Max Heart, did any of these episodes particularly stand out to you? Did you enjoy any of them more than the others?
Okay, so I don't remember which episode it was. I think it was Nagisa's birthday. But Nagisa and her relationship with Fuji P, I cannot wait until he's killed off by Truck Kun and isekai'd into another world. But
reborn into another world, and now I'm the magical girl? Oh, that would make a great light novel, though. A guy who was the magical girl where he came from had a crush on him. He reincarnates into another world, and he's a magical girl, and he finally can put himself in her shoes and her feelings.
Okay. But anyways, This episode, Nagisa really wants Fuji-P to wish her a happy birthday. They actually gave him, like, some dialogue, so it's almost like he has a character, and he's not just, like, a piece of wood that Nagisa wants to make out with. But at one point, Honoka is like, oh, I need to go get some water. And then she's like, she's more subtle about it, but she's like, Hikari, you're coming too, and just, like, grabs her and, like, yanks her away. And Nagisa's like, oh, Honoka, wait, where are you going? And Honoka just winks, because this is all Honoka's plan. And it becomes very obvious that all of this was Honoka's plan. She asked Fuji-P the day before where his team was going to be practicing, and then she asked Nagisa to go with her to, like, check out some flower garden that she never visits but is 2 feet away from the practice field. And then she and Hikari left so that Nagisa could finally have a moment alone with Fuji-P. And it looks like she's going to confess her feelings, but she's having trouble because she's Nagisa and she only has courage when she needs it. But she looks up and Fuji-P is asleep, and the dumb pirate captain Uraganos is there being like, tell me what the rest is, because, you know, his thing is that he mishears or he misunderstands. So at the beginning of the episode, Nosferatu told him, like, you should be able to hear it. And so Uraganos for the entire episode is like, I want to hear what it is. So he shows up when Nagisa's about to confess her feelings, and he goes, I want to hear what you're about to say. And she's like, you're a jerk, you ruined my moment with Fuji-P. So that was actually kind of funny in its own way.
That's delightful. Okay, I caught a couple glimpses of these episodes, and you have to tell me what is going on with the generals, because there's a scene of Viblis trying to just murderize the PreCure with her own 2 hands, and Dracula, like, throws her over his shoulder, and you can see her still being like, nyeh, nyeh, trying to get at him, and he's like, it's not time, Viblis, let's go.
Use the correct terminology, it was Nosferatu.
Oh,
so,
bad.
When they got their new magical shine super ultra mega attack, they hit him with the blast, and I alluded to the fact, like, I think he's dead. They had an episode, and I put this in the Discord, episode with the naked man screaming into the abyss. You know this is going to be good, but there's an episode where he comes back. It's the darkness played from last season, and it's him coming, like, out of the ground like a zombie, and he's clearly, like, naked because he was just reborn, and he just screams. And then
what a mood.
That's me every Saturday, honestly.
Right? I get home from work, I take off my pants, I scream.
But he goes back to the mansion, and he basically says, hey, we're evolving, and I guess there's been some allusions to the fact that maybe they're stronger, but you know how Max Heart is. It can't actually show us anything. It just has to allude to some greater mystery. So basically, he seems to be taking a hands-off approach with the Antichrist. He won't tell the other 3 generals why. He won't tell them what the plan is. He's just kind of like, just sit tight, and things will work out. And so in one episode, Viblis got incredibly upset because I think she thought that the Antichrist was going to be killed or something, like Hikari was going to do it or something. So she went to Hikari and was like, what did you do to my boy? And she was trying to beat up Hikari, and then Nosferatu, like, dragged her away and is all like, mystery, mystery, mystery. So nothing happened, but everything happened. You know, I anticipate that the last 3 episodes are gonna be like actual plot, and all the episodes until then is just neatly putting a little bow on everything. So, you know, on here I have episode 39 was lacrosse championship, and episode 40 was badminton hijinks. Both those episodes were about the same lesson, but episode 40 was secretly about Ryota, Nagisa's little sister, and the
Nagisa's little what?
No, absolutely. Nagisa's little brother. My apologies. And then Honoka's moving ? Episode was about what Honoka wants to do after high school. So clearly, you know, we have like 3, 4, 5 more episodes to go that are just going to be like, hey, this character hasn't had her final episode, this character hasn't had their final episode, and then boom, last 3 episodes, they're going to explain what all of this mumbo-jumbo means.
I did appreciate you were sending regular screenshots while you were watching these episodes, and the heartiel who is shaped kind of like a pear, the little round boy, he was so cute. What was his deal?
Oh my gosh! He represents prosperity, which I'm starting to think that they didn't have, like, I think they picked 12 as a random number. I don't know if they actually knew what they wanted each one of them to represent, because, like, one of them is this happiness. Hey, girl, what's happening with you? That's my very original joke that showed up in the Discord. But there's, like, happiness and, like, purity of thought and, like, prosperity, and, like, I don't know, in my mind, those are all kind of muddled and kind of, like, related.
Well, and each of the different heartiels seems to show up while Hikari is learning to experience that emotion. But prosperity isn't really an emotion, it's a state of being, you know? If I have many corns.
Prosperity is like when you invest in the Bitcoin and then, like, the number goes up.
Yeah,
that's prosperity.
That's prosperity. So how was Hikari feeling that? Did she buy Dogecoin before Elon Musk said it was stupid?
I have no idea. I just... Look, I give Max Heart shit. I do. I do not like Max Heart. It is one of the only 2 seasons that you could not pay me to rewatch. But these stretch of episodes were actually pretty good in some places, like the Honoka being a wingman, being wingwoman episode. Nagisa develops more character traits. Like, name everything that you can think about high level about Nagisa.
Good at sports, a little airheaded, like she forgets things, wants to be just a regular girl, likes boys.
And parfaits and chocolate cake.
Yeah.
She also likes period dramas. So they go on the field trip. They on one of the days they have like half a day of free time, and where do they want to go? And she gets really excited, like really more excited than she should be, than most girls her age would be, to go to a place and dress up as a samurai. And she gets Honoka to dress up with her. Uraganos gets into it for some reason. When he shows up, he starts talking about like, I am the samurai who shall prevent you from passing. And Brooks VA from One Piece, Cho, who's in like every anime ever, is the special guest character who is like a costume designer for like old tokusatsu movies or something like that.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was delightful.
It was a pretty good episode, right? My problem, and I pointed this out in the pre-cord server, is I think months from now, like 2 months from now, I won't remember most episodes of Max Heart, and I won't remember much about Honoka and Nagisa. Like you said, Honoka, or Nagisa, good at sports, likes food, wants to be a normal girl, has a crush on Fuji P. But, like, I feel like there's more about the characters of the other seasons that I've watched that I could name off the top of my head. Or, like, I see Mirai, and I squee, and I know I imprinted on her like a baby goose, but, like, I see Sango, and I squee. I see the frickin' Erika, and I cheer, right? When I see Honoka and Nagisa, I just kind of go, yeah, those are 2 girls. You know, in a sea of girls.
I have so many girls from which to choose. Why would I choose you?
Yes! Boom, boom, boom. I like pretty girls. Okay, they're cute, but I don't know if they're like A++ cute.
Absolutely. Not enough bright colors in their outfit. And we know the theme of this podcast is That's So Bright Colors.
That's so bright colors.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Max Heart?
Let me double check these episodes. You
have a quote, I probably shouldn't leave Nagisa alone.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. I don't remember. I think that's the field trip episode. Nagisa, like, runs off. I'm pretty sure this is the case. Forgive me, I watched 11 episodes, so they're kind of jumbling together. But the girls are trying to decide what they want to do, the other girls, and Honoka says, I should probably follow Nagisa, I probably shouldn't leave Nagisa alone. And you know, we were talking about, like, man, Rikka, you would make such a good wife for Mana. These lines from Honoka are why I get the feeling between Honoka and Nagisa, you know? I don't think they ship as strongly as Yukari and Akira, because you watch those episodes, those 2 in the background, and they're clearly interacting with each other in a way that couples would, whereas Nagisa and Honoka are just 2 girls in a sea of girls. And you put that on a shirt, 2 girls in a sea of girls. But it's lines like that that helps them shine a little bit brighter in my eyes.
Absolutely. Well, and like I've said this whole time, the main appeal of Futariwa and Max Heart is the relationship between these different girls. And so the more they play on that, the more interested I am and the better the episodes, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
If we're ready to talk about next week's episode of Delicious Party and...
Wait, hang on. There was a Zakena made out of pure fire, and its design was pure fire.
That is
I loved
so
it.
cool. That's exactly up your alley.
The Fire Zakena and the Toad Samurai Zakena were my two favorite from these episodes.
They went up your alley and they parked in your driveway and moved into your basement apartment, and they keep leaving dishes in your kitchen sink.
They keep eating my cereal, my Chex Mix, from within the walls.
Oh man, I needed that to get my blood sugar up before my run.
Oh no. Anyways, looking ahead, what's the next episode of Delicious Party going to be called?
So it states a question that is immediately answerable, and the question is, who cares about Kome Kome? And the answer is, I do.
Everyone does. Kome Kome lives in our hearts.
Yeah, so the full episode title is, Who Cares About Kome Kome? Tumultuous Pizza Party. And obviously, you know, Kome Kome's like, I want this. And somebody goes, well, who cares about what you want? And everybody shuns them, right?
Okay.
They don't talk to them. They don't look at them. They won't trade them for wheat. They are out of the circle.
They've been kicked out of the Homeowners Association Club. They no longer can pass laws about how many flamingos are allowed on the front lawn.
Legally, they are dead.
Absolutely. Now, I love that take. I love to see Kome Kome's honor being defended. But what I am predicting from this episode, I actually got the leak from Toei, so I apologize. This is exactly what happens.
Your uncle at Toei.
Everyone shows up to a party and they bring their own pizza that's like their kind of pizza. Like, I could see Takumi being like I eat only meat pizza or whatever. And I could see Amane being like, I put some grapes on my pizza because I'm all about them fruits. And Kome Kome goes, Kome Kome likes pineapple on her pizza. And there's just a record scratch, an audible record scratch, and everyone turns and stares at her, and Yui just goes, get out.
I want to know, in what world is it more acceptable to have grapes on pizza than pineapple? Amane should be ashamed of herself.
Amane can't be kicked out of the group because she's making out with Kokone and no one wants it to be awkward. Whereas Kome Kome is on her own and completely shunnable.
She's committed pizza crimes and she is out of the family.
And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone. And don't forget, sport's good. Enjoy sports.
I like corn on my pizza. Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full!